Hey guys, Eli here from Nintendo Network 64, here today to review Etrian Odyssey IV, Legends of the Titans for the Nintendo 3DS. Etrian Odyssey IV, Legends of the Titans seems like a pretty standard retro JRPG. After all, it's got character classes, turn-based gameplay, a level-up system, and it's really long. What sets Etrian Odyssey IV, Legends of the Titans apart from the other JRPGs isn't what you're doing inside battles, it's what you do outside of them. The story begins pretty stale. You have arrived in Tharsis, a town brimming of life and opportunity. As like many of the other explorers, your party is trying to reach the Yggdrasil, the sacred tree. That's pretty much the only story you got for the first 20 hours. Eventually the game begins sprinkling other elements of the story in, and by the 45th hour I finally understood what the big picture of what's going on. Unfortunately, the pace of the story for the first part of the game can be a turnoff for some, but the gameplay is much more important, so many won't mind. Whenever there is text, it is written very elegantly. I was actually surprised to find out that although the story was so minimal, I cared greatly about a few of the characters. The only reason for that is that the localization team did an excellent job making sure that whenever there was text, it made an impact. Words were used very sparingly, but as a result, the words had a much greater value. The gameplay consists of 3 parts. The first is exploring in your skyship, aptly named Big Mama. During this step of gameplay, the player will explore new areas of the overworld and collect food items which can give your party a stat boost. I'm glad this part was included because although it is unnecessary, it can provide a nice break after an extended session with a dungeon. Once a cave is discovered in the overworld, your party is free to explore the new dungeon. Unlike most dungeon crawlers, Etrian Odyssey approaches dungeons very differently. Instead of providing players with a map, Etrian Odyssey expects players to use the touchscreen on the 3DS in order to create their own map while exploring. The game provides a grid and the proper tools, and it becomes the player's job to ensure that they don't get lost. The system works great, and charting your own progress feels like a much bigger accomplishment than in many other games. Players will be making multiple trips through any given labyrinth, since they will be needing to return to Tharsis for supplies, so having a coherent map is essential. While exploring dungeons, players will encounter many random battles, as with any JRPG. Your character will have all the normal stats, strength, defense, etc., and battle is pretty standard fare. Characters will level up, skill points are spent, and both classes and subclasses are chosen. There are quite a few classes to choose from, and more become available as the game goes on, but there isn't much unique about the battle system itself. Overall, the game is pretty challenging and features both an easy and classic mode, as with Fire Emblem. In easy mode, you're allowed your experience and some items when you die, whereas in classic mode, you are returned to your last save point when you die. I, of course, chose the classic hard mode. At first, I didn't know my limits and was consistently dying. Once I knew my limits, I was barely dying for the second half of the game. The game does require a lot of grinding, though. Fortunately, the game provides a system to combat extensive boredom. The game provides an autopilot system, where all that the player needs to do is press the A button in order to grind up levels. So in my case, I grabbed 2 books in my Vaseline container and created a complex contraction to weigh down my A button. Then I just left the game on my charging cradle, and my characters continued to level up. After all, with the game already being longer than 60 hours, I would hate to be grinding in the same spot for the other 15. Both the music and the graphics deserve a special mention. The music is very well done, placing the center on the electric guitar. Constantly the game was playing awesome guitar solos, and there was a large variety of tunes. And don't even get me started on the boss theme. The graphics are great too, and even though the 3D isn't necessary to the gameplay, when exploring dungeons the 3D is gorgeous to look at. Overall, Etrian Odyssey IV, Legends of the Titans is a wonderful throwback to retro RPGs. The game is challenging, incredibly long, and employs a wealth of monsters and items. I recommend the game to all those who love RPGs, and for all those who are on low gaming budgets as the game has so much content. The initial playthrough will take more than 60 hours, plus with an extra dungeon and New Game Plus mode, that time could easily double. For those looking for a new game on their 3DS that will keep them occupied for a long time, look no farther than Etrian Odyssey IV. This game gets an 8.5 out of 10. Please don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. It really helps, and see you guys next time for another review.